The Mandalorians have been a staple of Star Wars since Boba Fett's appearance in The Empire Strikes Back. But where did the first Mandalorians come from? The first Mandalorians were very different from what we see today. The original Mandalorians were a species called the Tongue. They had increased strength and height than the average human. They usually had gray skin and yellow eyes. They were also very resilient, being able to withstand more pain than the average human. Their society was nomadic, which meant they moved from area to area quite often, depending on the resources. The elite of the Tongue would be those who had experience in military campaigns. The leaders of each Tongue clan would be selected by who has the most battle experience. These clan leaders would be called chieftains, while the leader for all the clans would be called the Mandalore. The Tongue believed in two gods, one named Harangir and the other named Arisum. Harangir represented change, chaos, and growth, while Arisum represented stagnation and idleness. To stave off the sloth god Arisum, the Tongs constantly waged war against others. They saw war as a divine act. The Tong were not primitive though. They also tried to get the latest technological advancements, often from stealing it from others. The tradition of Mandalorian armor also comes from the Tong, as they forged helmets in the image of their faces. The Tong originated from the planet of Coruscant. They weren't alone, however. An early human species were also in the planet named the Gel. The Gel and the Tong were bitter rivals and were in a state of constant war. But during one of these wars, a volcanic eruption caused major damage to the Gel's human armies. The Tong took advantage of this, of course, and conquered the Gel tribes. This became an iconic symbol of Tong power and later Mandalorian power. However, this victory would also be short-lived, as the Tong would later be driven out of Coruscant by the Gel. They fled to the planet of Rune until a legendary leader named the Mandalore led them to the planet that would later be known as Mandalore. The only other species in the system was the infamous Mythosaur, which is where the symbol for all Mandalorians comes from. It was at this point that they would be known as the Mandalorians. Shortly after settling the planet, they began taming the wildlife. The notorious Mythosaur were all slaughtered and their skeletons were the only thing left of their species. After the Mandalorians defeated and destroyed a race of insectoid creatures called Navuta, they began to view war as a divine mission. They became known as the Mandalorian Crusaders. The Mandalorians killed and wiped out entire cultures and races from the galaxy as they continued their crusade. This was until they met the Mandalorian giants. The Mandalorians repelled their attacks and earned their respect. Because of this, the Mandalorians allowed many of these formidable warriors to join their ranks. After this, the Mandalorians began to accept non-Tong members into Mandalorian society. The Mandalorians were drawn into their first war with the Jedi after a fallen Jedi named Ula Keldroma challenged the current Mandalorian leader named Mandalore the Indomitable to a duel. Keldroma bested the Mandalore the Indomitable in the duel. After this, he declared his loyalty, along with the other Mandalorian warriors, to the Sith. The Mandalorians took an active role in the war against the Jedi, striking the capital of Coruscant and capturing Onderon. After a failed attack on the forest planet of Dune, Mandalore the Indomitable was surrounded by a group of hostile creatures native to the planet. He fought them with all his strength and will, despite knowing that they would eventually overwhelm him. Though his mask was lost for some time, another Mandalorian would later find it and declare himself the new leader of the Mandalorians. Under his leadership, more and more non-Tong members were accepted into Mandalorian society. Mandalore the Ultimate would expand the Mandalorian sector to greater heights until the Republic stood in their way. They would clash with the Republic and the Jedi several times until a group of Jedi, called the Revanchists, decided to intervene. The Jedi leading this group, called Revan, would later defeat and kill Mandalore the Ultimate in the duel, ending the Mandalorian Wars. The Mandalorian Wars was one of the most deadliest conflicts in galactic history, causing the extinction of the Tong species in Mandalore. Though the Tong were extinct, their culture and way of life would continue through the largely human heirs of Mandalore. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. This is the Entertainment Crew, signing